This episode, entrepreneur and handyman Alan Stephenson from 911 Handyman. In this episode, Alan talks about his background, his qualifications, and why he got into the trades business. We will start a discussion on building a $1 million handyman business. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help you save time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Entrepreneur and Handyman Alan Stephenson from 911 Handyman. To help me explain, I'm here with my ever-cheerful co-host and old buddy, John. John?
Yeah, hey, man.
Tell me a story about this week. Tell me something fun.
Tell you something good?
Tell me something good. I want to hear something good.
I don't know if I mentioned, there's just been some, in this business, right? There's just always something new, something going on. But, we harp on a lot is to find your water shutoffs. And I was doing some plumbing and, looking all around for a water shutoff. And where is it at? Buried in the middle of a ceiling in the basement.
Nice.
Under, a drop ceiling. So I could get, but I had to chase it all down. I mean, and they just had some replumbing done. It's like, why would you put it way up there?
Because the assistant or the master plumber came in about halfway through of the assistant running the line and said, "Dude, you forgot your shutoff."
Right.
So he slapped it right there in the middle. Boom.
Yeah, that's about it. That's about right. Yeah. So, anyways, it's one frustration after another trying to chase down stuff. So, anyways. It's the business.
It's never a dull moment in the handyman business.
No.
So I was reading a post on social media, and I read a post from a guy named Alan Stephenson. It's where we actually came up with this article, or this episode, And Alan just has a wonderful business about starting a business, resilience, about actually starting businesses, about financial management, about the handyman business, about the trades businesses in general. And in my never be humble opinion, I thought, boy, this is a guy we need to have on. And one of the things that ended up, John, and you know this, is it went long, didn't it?
Yes, yeah, it did. And one of the things that really struck me, though, as it did kind of roll out there, is that it struck me as a lot of value that we were talking about, and especially from Alan's side, that could really help the people in our audience who are building a handyman business or any business. Guys, you're not alone. Everybody faces issues and needs solutions and things. So we rolled with it, and we're going to break it up
into a 3-part series.
Yes.
So we just want to let you know this is part 1 of a 3-part series. And John, that's just the perfect segue into our episode with Alan from 911 Handyman. We're here with Alan Stephenson. Alan, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being on the show, Alan. This is John.
Yeah. So, Alan, we got you off a Facebook post, and we just found your story to be intriguing. So can you give us some background on you and on your business, or businesses, I should say, in this case?
Sure. I'll try to condense it as much as possible. I've been in the financial services industry for over 3 decades. I've been a financial advisor for 24 years and been a self-employed financial advisor for about 19 years. So got a, pretty diverse work background, and especially when you compare it to most people in the trades. So.
Yeah. So you own a company called 911 Handyman. How did you get into the handyman business?
Well, that's a pretty interesting story, really. Or at least I think it is. I've built what I would consider to be a relatively successful financial practice. And in 2016, I was diagnosed with a very aggressive form of cancer. And, battling through all of that, I was very near death when they found it. And anyway, so I was still trying to run my financial practice, and I was having to be gone for, a month at a time, going through treatments. I went through 2 stem cell transplants. With that, they take you right to the edge of death. And Anyway, so 2016, I was going through the treatments. 2017, I went into remission. I was just trying to hold on to my financial practice. I really wasn't trying to grow it. I was just trying to hold on to it and keep what I had. And, you know, during that time, and I need to kind of go back a little bit, you know, I have 2 sons and a daughter, and my oldest son was a self-employed mechanic. My youngest son, you know, and they had both done construction in high school and all that, and worked really hard. And my youngest son did construction in high school, and then he went into construction management. He was enrolled anyway. I'm not going to say he actually went to school, but so he unfortunately took after me instead of his mama. But anyway, you know, he did an internship with the local housing authority, writing contracts, doing repairs, doing inspections. And then one of his friends was doing air conditioning work, and somebody, you know, and he ended up going to work for the same company and got lots of certifications, things like that. And I know it's kind of a long story, but I'll tie it all back in. So, you know, after he'd been doing that a couple of years, I guess it was in early 2018, one of our family friends owned a property management company and hired him as their property manager, as their maintenance supervisor. So here he is, I guess he was 21, 22 at that time. And anyway, so, you know, one day he came home and he was talking about you know, how hard it was to get these properties ready to rent back out after someone moved out. And you guys told me that y'all have rental properties. You know what that's like.
Impossible.
and yeah, exactly. So he told me, he's like, Dad, he said, you know, it's taken me 4 to 6 weeks to get these properties ready to rent back out. And of course, he was having to use subcontractors. I mean, you know, 600 plus rental properties. It's a pretty big portfolio for a young guy. And he said, you know, every single unit, I've got to get a plumber in there. There's a leaking faucet. There's electrical outlets not working, or light fixtures that need to be replaced. I've got to get a painter in there. I've got to get somebody to clean it up. He said, you know, I'm having to call anywhere from 3 to 5 people on every single unit. Then I have to follow up behind them, make sure they did the work. Then we have got the billing issues. He said, it's just a nightmare. And the whole time he was talking, I was thinking about one of my best friends, a guy that, you know, had gone through some difficulties in life, and it kind of really gotten him back together and was doing amazing. But the last part of the puzzle was he was looking for a job. And, you know, my son Brett, he was talking about all this, and the whole time he was talking, I was thinking, Jason knows how to do that. Yeah. Jason knows how to do that. And I'm not lying to you. When he stopped talking, I turned around and walked into the other room. I walked into one of the bedrooms. I closed the door where nobody could hear me. I called him. He answered the phone. I said, hey, you and I are about to start a business together. That's how much thought went into it.
That's about all it takes.
And I've been paying for that ever since. But and, you know, I told him about the conversation, and, you know, he said, I love doing that kind of work. I said, I know you do. I said, but we're not talking about you running around truck fixing things. I said, we're talking about a real business, a professional business. We're talking about you overseeing multiple crews and building $1 million+ a year business. And he had never been in business before. He'd never even been in the construction industry as a business before. He was just one of those good country guys like me that knows how to do a lot of things. And so that's kind of how that all started. And to go back even farther, as soon as my son, Brett, started working for our friends doing this property management stuff, he started talking to them about starting their own air conditioning business, because that's what he had been doing. So about the same time we started the Handyman Business, we incorporated on June 15th of 2018, which June 15th is always also my wife's birthday. That way I can remember both. So years have taught me a little bit of wisdom here.
And, okay, folks, I want to give that tip out there. Years of wisdom here. Put the dates on the same time. Yeah.
Yes, incorporate on very, very important dates, So, but anyway, so he started his air conditioning business with those guys backing him at the same time that we started the handyman business. And we started out, I'll never forget, one of the first jobs was my friend Jason. When we first started out, it was just me running the business, being the business guy, doing the marketing, creating infrastructure, coming up with a plan, and him doing the work. One of the first jobs we had, we were subcontracted to a contractor friend of mine, and Jason was on his hands and knees with a hammer and chisel chiseling up ceramic tile. And we started getting more and more leads. We ended up, hiring one of Jason's relatives, a young guy that straight out of high school, and just good old hardworking country boy. And, and then they started getting really busy. I mean, we thought we would just need him once or twice a week, maybe. And within a few weeks, he was going full time. And that first hire, just so everybody knows, is always scary. I don't care how many times you've done it. I don't care how many businesses you have. That first hire for a business is always scary. And anyway, so not long after that, they were really busy, and we got a call to assemble some office furniture. And I called my oldest son, who was his name's Derek, and he was a self-employed mechanic at that time. And honestly, he was just burned out on it. He's a great mechanic, and I would say it in front of him. I don't say anything behind somebody's back. But he's realized now he wasn't a very good business owner, which I think could be another part of our conversation later. But I called him and said, "Hey, you want to come do a job for Handyman?" He said, "Sure, why not?" And I think within 2 weeks he was full time, and now he is an owner in the company also. And we just have grown from there and running multiple crews. And and then in 2019, the guys that were backing my youngest son Brett in the air conditioning business, one of their friends of mine, and anyway, one of them and I were going to lunch one day, and he told me, he said, well, let me back up. Not long after they started that air conditioning business, somebody just walked in and made them an offer for that property management company they couldn't refuse, so they sold it. Well, now he didn't have 600 captive customers for his air conditioning business. And they said, we don't want to be in the air conditioning business. And they made us an offer to buy them out for their original investment, because they care about him as a person, and they wanted to see him do well, and they wanted to see me do well. And they just didn't really have any interest in it. They had other businesses. And so, at that point in 2019, so 2018, we started Handyman. 2019, me and my youngest son partnered in the air conditioning business, All Seasons HVAC. And then we're in Louisiana, so summers are brutally hot and winters are mildly hot. So, except for maybe 2 months out of the year. So winters are always dead for us, and fall is always dead for us. And anyway, so December of 2019, I was sitting on a couch, and I thought about a friend of mine that had recently moved out of state. And right before he moved out of state, he had bought a air conditioning duct cleaning business, and called Dirty Ducks Air Conditioning Duct Cleaning. And anyway, so we, I contacted him and said, "Hey, what'd you do with that business?" That job that caused him to move kind of came out of the blue. And he said, "Well, I've been meaning to call you for a few weeks to see if you wanted to buy it." And so after about a 15-minute conversation, we agreed. And January of 20, we bought the air conditioning duct cleaning business. So I've got my financial practice, 911 Handyman, All Seasons HVAC, and Dirty Ducks in a very short period of time while I was still going through cancer treatments.
Wow. So, yeah, that's a ton. I mean, that's just a ton. And congratulations, by the way. Yeah. So where are you in your cancer treatments? Just curious.
So I am a walking, talking miracle of God in modern medicine.
Awesome.
I am in remission and doing well. The cancer was really, really advanced. I had what was called a cancer called multiple myeloma, which is a cancer of the blood, and it basically makes your bones disintegrate. And I had been in pain a long time. I thought it was from old injuries. Grew up playing football and riding motocross bikes and thinking I was 9 feet tall and bulletproof. And
you mean you're not? Oh, geez,
yeah.
Sorry. I still think that.
So anyway, March 30th of 2016, and I kept getting sick every few months, and I just never put two and two together, and the pain just kept getting worse, and I was just in excruciating pain all the time. Had already told my wife I needed to go probably have back surgery, and anyway, and I just kept putting it off. And I was actually in the shower on March 30th of 2016. I was sick again and started coughing, and it caused my L5 vertebra to collapse. So it actually broke in half. That's how we found the cancer. Come to find out, I had fractures in basically every vertebra. I had clusters of fractures like spider webs through my ribs on both sides. I had close to 150 lesions on my bones, like holes in my bones from my thighs to my skull. And 60% of the cells in my bone marrow was cancerous. So,
wow.
It was
fun times at the Stephenson household. It sounds like, and not making light of it, but that's rough. That's really rough.
Wow.
Yeah. And it really, as hard as it was one of the best things to ever happen to me, because it really made me slow down and really see the blessings that I have in my life. My phone would start going off at 6:30 in the morning, text messages on Facebook, phone calls throughout the day, people from all over the country and even outside of the country, that I had met over the years at meetings and just built relationships with, and through Facebook, and, people I haven't even ever met in person, just letting me know that they were praying for me and that they loved me and that they were thinking about me. And I don't care how much pain you're in, which there's no way to describe the amount of pain I was in. But when you're going through that, and no matter what you're going through, when you start your day out like that, it's hard to have a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me slow down, look around at how blessed I am. And I would not change that for anything. And it also made me think about, what is my legacy? Because I didn't really know, nobody knew if I was going to make it or not. I had to think, okay, how is my family going to remember me? Are they going to remember me as a guy that was depressed or angry or felt sorry for myself? Are they going to remember the guy that, laughed when the left side of his mustache fell out, And that was me. That actually happened, by the way. My hair and beard had all fallen out, and my mustache was just like it normally is. And I got in the shower, and when I got out of the shower, I looked in the mirror, and the left side of my mustache was gone. And I thought it was funny, so I took a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and I walked around the house like that for 3 days. So my wife finally said it was getting kind of weird, so I had to shave it off. That actually happened to me. Yeah, that actually happened to me twice with both of my stem cell transplants. The second time it fell out in my sleep. And so anyway, the doctor said they'd never seen that. But the point being is, it's been a long, hard battle for a long time, man. I walked like, with a horrible limp. I couldn't stay on my feet more than a few minutes at a time. And I've just battled through and been very blessed. And now if you saw me, you would never know I'd been sick. And, I live a very normal life. But with that came some thoughts of, okay, I own a business. How am I going to keep running my business? I'm the only income in the family. And, I ended up, another good friend of mine in the financial industry. He and I have been friends for a long time, and we ended up partnering, we did a buy-sell agreement. In other words, if I didn't make it, he would buy my business from my wife, take care of my clients, and he's older than I am, so if something happens to him or he retires, then I buy his practice from him. And we actually changed the names of our financial practices to Legacy Wealth Concepts because of that thought of what is my legacy. And these other business opportunities, I mean, honestly, I didn't need them. Financially, I would be better off without them, at least for right now. But I want my sons to be able to go to work and
understand.
Yeah.
I want my sons to be able to go to work someday and say, Dad, help me build this.
Yep.
And I'm not doing it for them. They work their tails off, and I stay on them. I'm hard on my kids, you know. We have a great relationship. I mean, we really do. And it's a different dynamic when you're in business with your kids. It takes them a little while to learn, you know, maybe Dad does know a little bit more than I do. So, but, you know, hey, I've learned a lot from them too. And it's just been an amazing thing. And then my daughter, she's in college, but she works with my financial practice. So I'm so blessed to work with all three of my kids in 3 different businesses.
That's amazing. The
HVAC and duct cleaning business, that's actually one business. We run the duct cleaning as a DBA for marketing purposes. But, you know, and I'm just surrounded by an amazing group of young people. Amazing group of people. Most of them are young. In fact, my oldest son is 31, and everybody except for my business partner, Jason, is under that age.
Wow, that's that's part of your story that I just loved, was the whole legacy concept, because both John and I, and part of this will translate. We're going to talk true business in a bit here, but part of that was both John and I we run our businesses as just ourselves because we don't have that legacy ability to carry it on. I have 2 daughters and John has a single daughter, and neither of my daughters have expressed interest in taking over, you know, any of my business interests. I'll call them that, because I have rental properties as well, and then we do this podcast, which is just kind of a hobby, I guess, for lack of a better word. Right now, it's just a hobby. We're working on that. And John's daughters, I don't think John's daughter has any interest in that. But John, you can answer that question.
No.
Yeah, she has no interest in being involved in the handyman business in any way whatsoever. So it's very interesting to me that your sons are interested in taking over these businesses and the trades. We've discussed a lot of times in the trades about how the trades are, if you do a good job in the trades are never going to go away. HVAC, we live in Atlanta, you live in Louisiana. Air conditioning is, if you don't have air conditioning, you're not here. You're just not. And then we deal a little bit with the heating side here. Anyway, I'm sure you do a little bit on your side.
Yeah. When Brett told me that he wanted to get into air conditioning, I told him, I said, there's only one job that has more job security than HVAC in the South, and that's funeral director.
I was going to say it's funeral business, right?
Yeah. Right. But, you know, and you guys bring up a great point, and that is what is, you know, in talking to business owners right now, and whether it be handyman or even, you know, some of the homeowners out there that are listening, you know, that are business owners, what is your vision?
Right.
That is the first thing you've got to decide. What is it that you're wanting, and do you understand the risk associated with each and the benefits associated with each? You know, and talking to other guys that are in the trades, handyman, you know, whether it's a handyman, a HVAC guy, a plumber, whatever it is, you know, what is your vision in your business? Do you want to just be self-employed, or do you want to have an actual business?
Right.
Because, you know, there is a difference. There are some people that all they did was create a job for themselves. They are an employee of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if something happens to them, if they get sick, if they die, whatever, they get injured, that business stops. Whereas when we went into it, we said, and there's pros and cons to both. There's not one that's better than the other. They're just different. And anyway, so when we went into it from day one, I told Jason, I said, look, this isn't just going to be one guy running around fixing things. This is going to be, we're going to build a $1 million+ a year business. And really wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I just knew that's what the vision was. And, so when I'm talking to guys that are in the trades, and I do get a lot of them that contact me just asking for advice because they don't have the business background, and someone will say, I just don't want the complications of employees and the headaches that come with that, just like you guys were talking about. Hey, I get that. I completely understand that. But then I say, how are you addressing the risk that you're taking? Well, what do you mean the risk I'm taking? Okay, well, imagine you fall off a ladder and you break your leg and you're out for several months while you're going through rehab. Imagine that you're like me and you get that phone call of yes, it is cancer. So what are you going to do? And a lot of them have never really thought that process through. And there's ways to address that. And that's where my background as a financial advisor comes in. There's things of disability insurance and life insurance and, having agreements with other people that would step in the event that would happen, just so that you can keep going. But, there's a lot of different ways to address that. And then you look at the other side of it. And from day one, when we went into business, I've had health issues. My partner Jason's had health issues, of course, my oldest son, Derek, he's now a partner in the Handyman Business also. But from day one, I said, okay, this thing has to keep running if one of the key people goes down. If my cancer comes back and I can't run the business side, I've got to have somebody that can do that. If Jason gets sick, which he's had health problems, and he did it. In fact, at one point, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, 3.5 hours away, going through, a cancer testing. They were doing a checkup on me, and I was going to be gone for several days. Jason ends up in the hospital also, and so at 9 o'clock at night, I'm calling Derek saying, "Hey, we've got a problem. I'm gone. Jason's in the hospital. You've got to step up and do his job." Mm-hmm. And oh, by the way, we need another employee by in the morning because we got so much work going on. Yeah. And you know what? He stepped right in. He took over. He had us another employee, one of his friends, by in the next morning, and we never missed a beat.
Let me jump in here for a second. This is John. One of the things you bring up that is a great story right there. And the difference between just being just having your own business yourself, just doing it. Larry can attest to is that, so I'm retired and it's just me. So I'm really done with the big business type of thing. And I do it to keep busy and make extra, some extra money and to help people out. But you are absolutely right. For the younger people that are listening out there that are really in that stage of their life where they're really going to build a business, they need to be thinking about that.
Well, I want to
add all
kinds
of obstacles can, my dad did the same thing, but built a business. But it's one of those things where obstacles will occur in your life, and you need to keep things running.
Yeah, I just want to add that this is just financial management in general. We don't care if you're in the handyman business or not. You need to be thinking about cause and effect, and you need to think about like I call them the what ifs, right, Alan? You'd call them what ifs, like what if I get sick, or what happens? What do I do if I lose my job, or what do I do if any number of a million? What do I do if my transmission blows up on my vehicle? I mean, I don't know how much planning people do. John and I, we talk a lot about planning because we're both the planner types, and obviously you're a financial planner, so you deal with the financial side, but I deal a lot with the financial side as well. And sometimes it just amazes me how little I don't want to say little thought, but people really need to kind of take a big picture of their life as a whole and really think about some of the things of what can happen, because there's a million different things that can happen. And for most people, I think, Alan, you probably agree with this, it's not until you have one or two of those experiences where you're like, what do I do now? Like, really, what do I do now? And a lot of those things you can think about in advance and make not necessarily a plan, but at least have a contingency plan. And I liked some of the things that you were talking about there. So for years, I ran a vending business, and it was myself, and I had 3 employees at one time. And then I scaled it back, and I just went to myself. And I actually had a cooperative agreement, much like you had, and I still actually have it with this same person. He's another independent vending operator, and we had a deal where we called ourselves friendly competitors. We rarely competed on accounts, but if he got sick, I could go run his accounts, and I knew it was taken care of. And conversely, if he got sick, I could go run his accounts and still will for him if he needs me to, and I can go make his business stay in place for any number of reasons, like you're just talking about. Anything can happen. You just don't know.
That's right. One of the things, my father-in-law, he's deceased now, but he was a civil engineer. So very meticulous. There's a certain personality type that comes with jobs like that. Mm-hmm. And, everything in his life was planned. And one of the things that I learned from him not long after my wife and I got married, and we've been married for 32 years. And if you're doing the math, she got pregnant on her honeymoon, because that's the way real men roll. But anyway. And I was terrified when I got that call. But anyway, so I learned from him, he had a list of things to do in the event of his death.
Yeah. Yep.
And what all the bank accounts were, the insurance policies, who did the taxes. And he had this list of things to do in the event of his death. Not in the event of his death, when he died.
Yeah. That
kind of comes back to the old insurance agents, sayings. It's not if you die, it's when you die. And so I have that for my family. I have there's a file, and it says, things to do when I die. Now, don't make the mistake I did and leave it sitting on the seat of your truck and let your kids find it, because then they think, something's going wrong. But
right. Yeah.
Anyway, I have that same thing with the business.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's the same as going on a job. John and I talked. John, we actually did a show called "We're Checklist Guys." So we come out of the aviation business or the aviation world. I have a private pilot's license, John. I think you have your private as well, and John worked as an aviation mechanic, and there's nothing in aviation that isn't on a checklist. Now, when I say nothing, I mean nothing. That pilot, when you get up there, trust me, when that pilot's up there in the front of that airplane, he's actually, either he or the co-pilot's done a walk around on that plane. Now, you might not know that, but I'm telling you, they get out and actually go look at that airplane. They look at everything on that plane, and it's on that checklist. Did you check the flaps? Did you check the rudder? Did you check? And granted, it's only a visual inspection, but they have a whole list of checklists, everything from the radio to everything. So we really understand that whole planning concept. We do checklists. Even when we go on a handyman job, it's like, okay, so we're going to do a drywall job. Do we have the knives? Do we have the tape? Do we have the mud? Do we have this? Do we have that? Do we have everything we need? Do we have the right sandpaper? It's just planning, right, Alan? I mean, it's just the same thing. All of those analogies are absolutely identical. If you're going to have a business, there's a base checklist you can run, right? I mean, tell me, because we're speaking all the same, I think, if we go that way.
I mean, we've got it's funny you guys mentioned that about being the aircraft mechanics, because my father-in-law that I was mentioning, he was an aircraft mechanic in the Navy right around the World War II era, towards the end of it. And he worked on the PBY float planes. And I remember him telling me that every time he worked on a plane, they'd make him go fly in it. So
yeah, exactly. That's how they did it back in those days. Yeah. Oh, they did that with you, John? Did they make you go fly in them? Wow.
Yeah. And it was a little nervous when I was sitting on a cardboard box in the back of it for a seat.
Right. Well, he told me about dropping a nut one time, and he never did find it, and he always wondered if it went down the carburetor, especially when he was flying. He took him on the test flight. Anyway, so
that's why you never put your name on your tools.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the first thing. I was doing that. I was in the airlines. Nobody wants to hear this story, but I was told don't do that.
Yeah. You put your buddies' names on the tools just in case.
Yeah, so, yeah, right.
But anyway, so that's it's just a part of that whole planning process, and for me, it was. This is part of having a business. The business, if you're going to have a business survives once a key person goes down. And that means you've either got somebody to step up and take over those responsibilities. It means cross-training. It means having agreements with maybe even a competitor to step in and buy your business. I mean, think about it. You've got a client base that you've built up over all these years. That is worth money. And if you don't have a plan in place, all that just goes away. I mean, you've got a phone number, right? I mean, the HVAC business was actually started under another name, and a family friend of my son's, gentleman, he's about my age. Well, he passed away from cancer. He had an HVAC business that he had for, 15, 20 years. And it was he didn't have employees. He was the business, but he had a company name and a phone number that people had been calling for all those years. That was worth something.
Yeah. And that's a great tip. Alan, I want to just take a tiny break right here, and then I want to get into some of the nitty gritties of like, let's talk business, and let's do this as a true business. Let's go through that sort of business checklist, because we've talked about some of the initial planning, but let's go through the initial checklist. So, well, I want to thank Alan for being on the show. In part 2, we're going to get into the weeds on starting $1 million handyman business. So stay tuned. That show will debut again. We do want you to let you know, John. John, do we have a unique build contest coming up?
Yes, we do.
We do. So, folks, we've got, if you've done anything that's just kind of a unique build, John and I recently built a pizza oven on a trailer for a customer who is dragging it around his own property and is going to sell pizzas off of it. We've got a video on that on YouTube, plus we've put that out on our Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. So take a look at that, but real simple, send us your ideas. That is, you send them to handymanprosradioshow@gmail.com. Let us know what unique builds you've done. We do have some qualifications. We did a show on this. We'll post a link out there for this. Again, all of that happens at Handyman Pros on Facebook. Anything else, John? Any other questions? You can email us, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. We do have a website, handymanprosradioshow.com as well. What else? Handyman Twitter?
Please join our Facebook group. Post out there as well. We love all the comments, and we're really excited about the unique build contest. So everybody, kind of jump in, send us pictures, all that good stuff. We'd love to see it, and we'll get you some merch, some
handyman swag is what it is, and
swag in the bag, baby.
We're going to do this as of March 1st, so you've still got a good month or so left before this. We're going to close this one out. But anyway, with that, the spaceship's landed. It is time to take that bad boy apart. We will see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.